All right, so as we continue with that story, of course, Bafana made an impactful return home this morning, capping off a remarkable journey at the AFCON tournament in Ivory Coast with a commendable third-place finish. Now, this achievement has prompted a deep dive into the current state of South African football, leaving many pondering the realisation of promises made in 2010 to foster the development of the sports in the country. Now, to delve further into this, we're now privileged to have two distinguished guests with us today. Joining the conversation is Mark Fish, a pivotal member of the 1996 AFCON-winning team, as well as Mark Haskins, a football analyst, to reflect on Bafana Bafana's recent success. And of course, thank you so much to you both for joining us. Mark Fish, let's start with you. I mean, a recognizable player of South Africa yourself. Just talk to us about this win. I mean, what does this win mean for Bafana Bafana and how you are feeling at the moment, for their tremendous feat?
No, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on your show. I think, what I saw at the AFCON, I was fortunate to be there for a while. And what I saw, their performance against Morocco, I was in San Pedro when they played against Morocco, and obviously we know they went on to, unfortunately, lose to Nigeria in the semi-finals on penalties. But, for me, for a long time, I was very reluctant to watch Bafana Bafana because they did not show to us what I would think would be real passion and commitment towards playing for your country. And we saw it now. We saw it with Yugo Bruce. I think has formed a team that believe in him, and he believes in the players that he's put together. And we saw that on the field. They had disciplined performances which we haven't seen for a long time. So it's remarkable the change over the 2 years nearly that Yugo Bruce has been there. We can understand that when he came to the country, he had many things to say about South African football, and he's turned the team around, and he's brought pride and the team has made us very proud to be South African football fans again. So, yes, again, they deserve all the accolades that they receive. But now we need to build on. We need to build on this performance in the sense of we have a World Cup qualifiers. World Cup qualifiers, we play home and away, and we will be playing our nemesis, the Nigeria, home and away. And that is a big challenge for us, to build on the performances that we saw at this AFCON. Again, I think that the cry would be, when we play these World Cup qualifiers, let's fill the stadium and let's get behind Bafana Bafana. And I think that is what is the most important element that we've seen from this African Cup of Nations, that they play with pride and passion for themselves, for the team, for the coach, and obviously for the country. And they've shown that to us. And again, I get goosebumps sitting here because I am very proud to be a South African football follower again because of this team's performance. And again, now I would reiterate, let's fill the stadium. Let's make sure that when Nigeria, I use them example, but obviously we've got Rwanda and other teams in the group as well. But when these teams come to South Africa, let's play at FNB Stadium. Let's not move the national team around. Play at FNB Stadium and fill the stadium to show that we have a 12, 13, and 14 man supporting our football national team. So well done to the lads. Very proud, and now we need to build on it.
And importantly, I think all South Africans feel the same way, Mark, in terms of those goosebumps. But let's bring in the other Mark now. Mark Haskins, just talk to us about about what Mark Fish has just touched on, which is building on. I mean, what for you were some of the key, elements that you thought led us to this victory, and how can we build on it, particularly because, in 2 years' time, we will be faced with that World Cup?
Yeah, I think what Mark speaks about when you speak about the character, that's such an important thing. And yes, I think for a long time, wearing the badge, you questioned, the patriotism and what it meant to actually wear the badge. And so I think they showed so much character in this tournament, and that is something to build on. So we speak about the non-talent factors, the factors that require zero talent, and that's the effort you put in, your desire, your intensity on the field, because South Africans have talent in bucket loads. Our natural ability is generally what sees us across the line, but it's all those non-talent factors that need to first be applied and need to first be dealt with. And I think that's what Coach Yugo Bruce has done really well. He's brought this team together. And when we talk about the intensity, the desire that they showed on the field, they were outstanding, and they didn't let anybody outwork them, outrun them, out muscle them, whatever the case may be. Even if we were smaller than them, we put our bodies into tackles. We weren't afraid to really get stuck in, and then our ability takes us across the line, and that's generally what's needed. And so they did that exceptionally well. But you know, I think there's still bigger elements that we need to deal with and factors that we need to take into account. Unfortunately, in this country, club football takes precedence over national team. And even when you look at supporters, some supporters won't support the national team if they don't see enough of their, you know, the clubs that they support, players from those clubs. So those are still things that factor in. So we don't always unite as a collective. There's too much disunity when it comes to even the club teams, and so it filters through to the national team. Unfortunately, there's so many elements that we need to deal with, but we're still a long way from where we need to be in terms of our development and what we need to do, because when you go down to our junior national teams, our senior team has done really well. Banyana have done exceptionally well. But unfortunately, our junior teams are struggling at the moment to qualify for major tournaments as well. So we've got a lot of work to do from grassroots all the way through the system. And, you know, eventually we'll see the rewards at the top level, because I personally believe that with the natural ability and the natural talents that we possess in the country, we should be competing at the level that Morocco did at the World Cup. And we should be there where we're contenders at the World Cup level. And I think we're still a far cry from where we should be. But this is a great platform now to build on and say, okay, where have we gone wrong? How do we rectify things? And this should be the starting point.
And Mark Fish, when you listen to what Haskins is saying in terms of, you know, we still have a long way to go, and just going back to your, plea to say we need to build onto this victory. You've had first-hand experience of, you know, the AFCON victory in 1996. I mean, when you look at those, if you perhaps want to draw parallels to your experience and looking at, you know, the land now in terms of how it's looking for our team currently, what would you say is needed to be done, you know, to just close those gaps and make sure that we bring it home?
No, I think that, Mark Haskins touched on a few topics there. And I think, the character of the individuals, the players, we know we have natural ability. But, to draw comparison to 96, and then I must mention we had 96, 98, and we had 2000 that, we came first, second, and third. And then slowly, our football deteriorated. When I say deteriorated, we had set a standard for ourselves and we didn't compete at that standard. Now, I think what we've done now, we can really say that with this performance, that we are not just qualifying for the African Nations Cup and being happy for that. We are going there to compete, and we are going there to try and win it. So that is a major step forward in the psychology of not only a South African football player and the team that's going there, but also as the fan. So I think that plays a major role. And then got to touch on that. Mark said about the fans. From various clubs, if your players aren't playing in the national team, you don't support. And that, I think, needs to certainly be turned around. And hopefully it has with this performance, because we had it in 96 and it's long ago. We had, whether it were Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns, no matter SuperSport, whichever team it was, those fans were in the stadium to support the national team, because the national team brought pride and joy to football and to the fans. So I think that is important. And that's why, the call for the fans to realize that, I don't really think, we watch it on television. Only the players and Yugo Bruce and his technical team knows how difficult it is to go into Africa and perform the way they did, and try. Obviously, you want to win the tournament, but to perform the way they did, it takes everyone's collective unity of making sure that everything is available for the national team on that day, on the tournament, so that they can succeed. So there's many aspects that we need to look at. But at this particular moment, I think, it's going to be a short time. We've got a couple of months' time, and then we're back to World Cup qualifiers. And the big one that we're going to, which is in June, is Nigeria, away in Nigeria. Which bigger game do we need to go and compete again after, unfortunately having lost to them in the AFCON semi-final. So for me, the challenges are only that as a playing team, They know what they need to do. They know what it takes. Again, that the team itself, the performance, the players know themselves. That at the end of the day, they got bronze, and we are so proud of them and so happy with football moving forward. But there is more to come, and it takes a lot more to get to where we as football fans want them to go, because now they've set a standard. So for us, we think that any AFCON we qualify, we want nothing less than a semi-final.
Yeah, Mark,
but the AFCON is next year, and it's going to be another challenge.
Yeah, just on that point of support, I mean, we seem to, underestimate how vital it is to have, fan base support. I mean, Ronwen Williams, when he was, on the podium this morning at OR Tambo International Airport, he mentioned two things. He mentioned, the fact that they have so much pride as a team that they could, create this unified South Africa just through their performance. Another thing that he mentioned is that it was important for them to have that brotherhood as a team, as well as support, for each other and work together as a team. I mean, how important is it, particularly as the coach has a certain level of, his task that he needs to do, but ultimately it all boils down to that fundamental support from both the fans and also from the teammates themselves to trust each other.
I think we saw that 100%. I think we saw that brotherhood, and the brotherhood doesn't just develop overnight. And this is, again, like I said, Yugo Bruce over a period of time, and we saw that. We saw how they stood firm on the field of play, and off the field as well. They were united, so they had a common goal. They knew why they were there. And again, I mean, we got to understand the importance of Yugo Bruce, because Yugo Bruce came in for a lot of criticism, and he had a plan. His plan worked slowly. He changed the team. He's changed the formation of the team, and he got a squad of players together that he knew that will go out, not only play for themselves and for the country, but play for him as a coach and play under the instructions that he has been trying to get through to them over the last two years. So the coach plays a major role, but the players and it's a unified performance. And again, to go away and have that family feel, like you said, the brotherhood, that is optimum for good performance, and we've seen that, and long may it continue.
Yeah, Mark Haskins, I mean, just talking about the sustainability of the sport, and Yugo Bruce has a mammoth task ahead of him. Just talk to us how important it is for him going forward. I mean, he now needs to make sure that in 2 years' time, in fact, there's another AFCON, next year, not too long from now, but also ultimately, the eye is on the ball in terms of the Soccer World Cup. How important is his role, and from a sustainability perspective, to have him still be there at the helm?
I think we have to introduce a hashtag hands off Yugo Bruce. Yeah. Because he's pivotal to everything. I think in this country, we're afraid of the truth a lot of times. And that's what I've always appreciated about him. I've loved him since the moment he came in, because he's not afraid to speak the truth. He's not afraid to call a spade. And that's ultimately what we've needed. And he's come under fire, from many circles because of that. But he hasn't been afraid to speak his mind and say what is needed. And we're seeing the rewards, and we're seeing the fruits thereof right now. So I do believe he's pivotal to that. And we as a public need to still, we're so fickle as a public, because coming into this tournament, nobody really gave Bafana much of a chance. A lot of people will say Yugo Bruce is not the man for the job, and they've turned their tune now. What if in the next few games he doesn't get the desired results? Are we going to turn on the team again? We need to back this team. We need to support them, because we've seen progress throughout his reign, but it is going to take time, and we have to trust the progress, and we have to trust the process as well. And so I think that's what's really important. He's made great strides. The fact that we nearly qualified, we were robbed against Ghana in Ghana. We all know that. A dubious penalty that knocked us out of World Cup qualifying. We were nearly at the last World Cup when we hadn't qualified for a very long time. So there's been a steady progress under Yugo Bruce, but we have to be realistic as well. It's still going to be a process to go through, and this team is still growing and still getting better. There's young players coming through that we're going to blood in. I'm sure he's going to bring in, that we're going to see in the next couple of squads as well. And so it is a process, and we need to give him the time.
Gentlemen, time is not on our side. Mark Fish, if you're still with us, just as we wrap up, just 30 seconds from you in terms of what is now needed from a mental, capacity point of view for the Bafana Bafana players as they go into very crucial moments in their tournament.
Yes, I am still with you, but exactly. I actually just want to reiterate Mark Haskins' words. I think that hashtag Yugo Bruce, leave Yugo Bruce alone. I think we know this because our federation have always jumped to conclusions, and we can count the number of coaches we've had over the period, of the years since we've been back in world football. So leave him alone. Trust the process. And let the players and the coaching staff do what they've been assigned to do. So leave everything alone to the coach.
Yeah.
Let's support him, give him all the possible support we can as a federation, as football fans, as football coaches, as supporters of football for Bafana Bafana. And well done to the players. And again, this is the beginning of something that only they know how far they can take it.
Thank you so much. Mark Haskins, your 30 seconds wrap.
Yeah, I'm loving what's happening in the national team right now, and I think we need to obviously build on it, and that's at senior level.
Yeah.
When we go further down, there's still so much work that needs to be done, and I'm hoping that SAFA are now inspired to do that because they are the custodians of football, and the onus is on them to make sure that we implement the right processes at grassroots level that will ultimately filter through to the senior teams.
Fantastic. Both Marks, thank you so much for your time, Mark Haskins, as well as Mark Fish. Of course, I think we came up with something here on the agenda. Hashtag leave Yugo Bruce. Hands off Yugo Bruce. Fantastic.